Hey everybody and welcome to another Save Point podcast. I'm Crash and I'm here with DC Black and we got a couple of
Yo,
things to go
yo.
over. Comic-Con just happened not too long ago and they dropped a lot of stuff. Uh so some of the things we're going to go over is like the new DC Slate, the new footage for the Avengers. Um we're gonna actually talk about Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite a little bit. Also, new characters dropping for Injustice 2, Thor, the Ragnarok movie, since they came out with a new trailer for that, as well as Young Justice, because it seems like everybody's waiting for that. So we're gonna basically talk about that a little bit, and also go over the Defenders trailer too. So,
Right.
So, the new DC slate. What you got for us,
Yes.
DC Black?
So this is here's the thing. You know, DC had a lot of baggage, okay, because they've had three back-to-back really terrible movies. Like Man of Steel was bad, you know, by just and that's an understatement. Okay.
Fair enough.
It was terrible. Uh Batman v Superman, by far probably one of the worst superhero films probably of all time.
Worst
It
Batman
it
movie.
didn't even hey it was a joint effort.
It was a
Okay, that
Batman
was
movie. I'm sorry.
that screw up was a joint effort. Okay, you did also have the Ultimate Edition because it's technically considered because the Ultimate Edition had almost 30 minutes of extra footage that still made that movie terrible.
Hmm.
Um, You then also have Suicide Squad. I personally like Suicide Squad.
It was
I
alright.
think it has its flaws. It definitely had flaws,
Definitely.
but I mean, overall, I think it was a pretty good movie.
It wasn't
Um,
terrible. I expected worse and got decent. So it was like, okay, I can deal with that.
right. But then you have things like Wonder Woman that write the shit. Okay, so when they came out with a bang. DC, okay, we're aware that we screwed up. And I definitely want to say before we talk about this, our thoughts and prayers go out to Zack Snyder's family
Mm-hmm.
and the loss of his daughter. That's definitely, suicide is definitely nothing to joke around with or play with. And just say, our thoughts and prayers are with him as well as his family.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
um, because of that situation, Josh Whedon hopped off of Batgirl. He's still doing Batgirl, but he hopped off that to finish to basically reshoot a good portion of Justice League. So DC basically was like, "Look, we know we screwed up. We see that y'all love Wonder Woman so much so that we're gonna cram a second Wonder Woman movie into your movie slate." So this is basically what their movie slate looks like now. And I have to say it is really unfreaking believable. Okay. We have this year, November 17th, Justice League drop. The main villain for that is Stephen Wolf,
Mm-hmm.
the general of Darkseid's army, and he also is his uncle, talking about keeping it in the family. Um,
Okay.
you also have another DC movie coming out in July of 2018, which probably based off of what we're hearing is probably going to be either Flash or Shazam. Maybe more than likely it's probably going to be Flash, but we're going to get to Flash in just a second. We don't know what that movie is exactly, but what we do know is Aquaman's coming out December 21st of next year. Now Jason Momoa has been doing a lot of press about Aquaman, just saying, hey, this Aquaman is not going to be the cheesy, oh, he quote unquote talks to fish, because that's not even Aquaman's power.
I think
And I'm kind of low
let's
key
wait,
tired.
wait. Before we go any further, I think we've honestly got past that part with Aquaman. Like, especially with the Injustice comics and the games, I think weird stigmatism that everybody has about Aquaman being useless and just only being able to talk to fish has kind of flown out the window now.
I mean, yeah, but you still got a lot of holdovers, just like anything.
A little bit.
But what interests me about this movie is that that James Wan, the director Furious 7, made this movie, and he said he's taking a horror twist to Aquaman, which is kind of interesting considering the fact there's some terrifying fish in the ocean.
Yeah.
So to make Aquaman a horror movie, that will be kind of interesting. So I'm looking forward to that next year. Then we have 2019, where they actually do have the Shazam is coming out in 2019. So the thing was that when they originally announced Shazam, they said, "Hey, Shazam's coming out, and the Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson is going to be the villain of the movie. He's going to be Black Adam." Everybody lost their marbles. Originally, he was supposed to be the villain of the Shazam movie. However, being that you have Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson in the DCU now, he's just too big just to be just somebody's villain in a movie. He, of course, got to have his own movie. So what they did was they separated Shazam into two different movies. You now have the Shazam movie, and now you have the Black Adam movie. And the Black Adam movie is going to star Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. So he's going to have his own movie where you're going to kind of explain his backstory, while the Shazam movie is going to explain Shazam's backstory. Me personally, I'm not the biggest fan of this because I would personally rather see how the Shazam movie goes over than just to separate the movies. Because I don't think Shazam has any other villain to fight outside of Black Adam. But we should see.
Yeah,
that's a long way out.
To be fair, I'm not a big fan of that either, because it's like, I understand it's The Rock and blah blah blah, but at the same time, Black Adam is important, but is he really important out of every villain that they really need to give him his own movie? I don't think so.
I get the fact because Black Adam, his story is basically he's a fallen Shazam. That's it. That's kind of how they kind of going with it. He's a fallen Shazam, which it's an interesting story, but like you said, I don't really feel like there's enough there for a full 2-hour movie.
No, I can agree with that.
So I don't know about that. Then the next movie, then we have another unknown movie coming out, which is rumored that it will be Justice League 2, but more than likely it probably will be Wonder Woman 2. The likelihood is either going to be Wonder Woman 2 or Gotham City Sirens, which if it's Gotham City Sirens, I will be really interested to see who plays Poison Ivy and Catwoman. That would be the only reason why I would want to see Gotham City Sirens, because the rumored villain for that is going to be Black Mask. Okay. Which when they said that, I was like, sign me up, because I'm all for that movie.
Yeah, it sounds actually pretty good.
Right, and then even if it was I'm going to get into why I don't think it's going to be a Justice League. It's not going to be Justice League 2. But even if it's Wonder Woman, the second Wonder Woman is supposed to be another prequel. Which I have an idea where I think where Wonder Woman should go. I think Wonder Woman should go. If it was me, I wouldn't necessarily do another prequel movie, but it could kind of work out with Wonder Woman, because I'm kind of seeing, like, with the way they're trying to do Wonder Woman is going to be like a prequel-based franchise where it fills in the gaps. So I could kind of see that, but I would love to see them do a present-day Wonder Woman where it flashes back and flashes forward to present day.
Okay.
But now here we are with, also 2019, November 1st, DC has an untitled movie there. And then we get to 2020 where they're still trying to do a cyborg movie, which I do not understand for the life of me why we're getting a cyborg movie. And the date for that is supposedly...
we're getting a Black Adam movie, so you know.
That's... Yeah. February 14th, Valentine's Day, we're supposed to get a DC movie. April 3rd is supposed to be Cyborg. June 5th, 2020 is Green Lantern Corps, which this is the way this movie is being described is like Lethal Weapon meets. It's like the way this movie is being described is Lethal Weapon in space.
What? What?
Yes, July 24th is Green Lantern Corps. June 5th is not. They're not really entirely sure, but yeah, it's Green Lantern Corps is being labeled as Lethal Weapon in space, which is supposed to star the two Green Lanterns that is supposed to star is Hal Jordan and Jon Stewart.
Okay, I can see that. The two most popular Green Lanterns.
Right. Then after Justice League comes out, you then have a Nightwing movie that's supposed to be coming out. We also have Batgirl coming out after the Batman comes out in 2020.
Right.
And then Suicide Squad 2. And then Justice League 2 as well.
Wow.
So
I mean, that's a lot of movies.
So yes, like we're getting hit back to back with movies. So, let me also forgot about this movie as well. We also got Justice League Dark coming out as well, and that's supposed to be coming out around 2020.
All right.
So here's my thing. Okay, now let's just get on to the Flash. Okay, the Flash, I believe, is going to be the game changer for the DCEU. Here's why. Because you already have... Okay, so going back to our movie slate, we already have Wonder Woman, and this is going to be spoilers for those that did not see Wonder Woman. The beginning of Wonder Woman takes place after Batman versus Superman. While the whole middle chunk of the movie, which is the actual movie itself, that whole thing takes place well before Justice League in World War I, and then the last scene of the movie takes place after BVS. However, the Flash movie is called Flashpoint, basically. Mm-hmm. This is, I think, is going to be a game changer for the simple fact, if you have not read the Flashpoint story, I highly recommend you going to read that story. It is probably one of the best written comic book stories of the last 5 to 10 years. Basically, the story is about the Flash. He goes back and he basically stops a crime. And who do you know starts the whole crime in the first place? The Reverse Flash. So, because of the backstory with the Flash is that his mother's killed by the Reverse Flash. I'm going to give you the Sparkles version because that is long and intricate. But Sparkles version is that Reverse Flash goes into the past, kills Barry Allen's mom to basically stop him from becoming the Flash. But little does he know that is his motivation from becoming the Flash, and that makes him into the Flash because he's trying to solve his mother's murder. So Flash gets the bright idea to be like, hey, I'm going to go back in time and save my mom. Little does he know that screws everybody else over.
Anybody who's ever watched the series The Flash on CW would know why that's a bad thing.
Yes, but in the comic book, it's way worse. You have basically the world is a post-apocalyptic Earth. You have the Aquaman and the Atlanteans starting a world war with the Amazons and Wonder Woman.
Oh, okay.
Which ravages the world.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of Batman losing his parents loses Bruce.
Oh, okay. So they did a reverse there.
Yes, which makes Thomas Wayne Batman, and guess who becomes the Joker?
his wife.
Yes, Martha Wayne becomes the Joker, which turns the whole Batman Joker thing on its head. You then have Cyborg. Then you have Cyborg that becomes the leader of the Justice League, essentially. And then you have a pathetic Superman that's been captured by the government and put under a red sun lamp instead of him crash landing on a farm in Kansas. So the whole story ends with the Flash realizing he's the one that caused all this and him having to fix it. I think they're going to. I think if they play this right, this is going to change their entire. This is going to change their entire landscape because the problem they've been having is this: you have a bunch of dark movies, and then you have a bunch of dark movies with forced humor because you realize, oh wow, like this movie's really dark. We should probably throw some laughs in this, but it doesn't work because it's really artificial. So with Flashpoint, because at the end of Flashpoint, that's what creates the New 52.
Right.
So with Flashpoint, what they could essentially do, especially if Flashpoint, and with them making Flashpoint take place minutes after Justice League, what they could say is, okay, after all the events in Flashpoint erases BVS, Man of Steel, and Suicide Squad, creating a whole new litany of events.
So long story short, they're giving themselves an out in case they fuck up.
Yes, because all eyes right now is on Justice League.
Yeah, I can see that.
Because of Justice League tanks, because that was the problem with BVS. BVS was supposed to make $1 billion flat out. But BVS didn't even come close to making $1 billion. It took them almost the full length of it being in theaters and DVD for it to make $1 billion. Which was not what they put into the movie at all. Because when they have the budget for a movie, you got to also understand the fact that also doesn't give an account to marketing. So all those nice little cups you see at Burger King and when you go to the movie theaters, that's additional money that's tacked onto the budget, and they got to recoup all that, and at least break even. And even that's not good for the amount of money they spent on this movie. So I really believe that Flashpoint is going to be there out because it will still. And here's the beauty of Flashpoint: it will keep the events of Wonder Woman intact. Because what will happen is, okay, well, if the end of Wonder Woman takes place after BVS, well, the events of BVS never happen. What that does, however, it takes place right before the end of Wonder Woman will take place before Justice League 2, which will be them fighting Darkseid, which in actuality is the first arc of the New 52 Justice League.
Okay.
So it works out perfectly. You just can't screw up Flashpoint, or you're gonna have a lot of pissed off people. Which is kind of my problem with Flashpoint. Because here's the thing, SP. What happens? Remember, they have not introduced Reverse Flash yet. So now you have to introduce Reverse Flash and all of the Flash's characters in Flashpoint.
Which sounds like it's about the jumbled mess if they go through it that way. Because then they're going to have to go through every villain that he naturally fights.
Yes. So Captain Cold, and this is just to name a few. Captain Cold, Heat Wave, Weather Wizard, all of the rogues in general. If you don't introduce them, you have to at least acknowledge the fact that they're there.
Yeah.
But then you have to introduce the Reverse Flash. The Reverse Flash himself is so big of a character that trying to use Flashpoint to introduce him is kind of a bit much.
Right, because then well, I don't know, because see, if they go off the Flashpoint based off of him saving his mother, they can pull that off.
Yeah, but you have to explain. You're gonna also have to explain Reverse Flash, because it's just like, okay, well, his mother was killed by a blur. Who was said blur? That's why, if you notice, the Flash TV show did not immediately jump into Flashpoint, because you have to flesh out the Reverse Flash. He's way too big of a character for you just to do a drive-by.
Well, yeah, they used a whole season to do Reverse Flash, and then even in season 2, when they were going through Zoom, they still had to go back to the Reverse Flash for the end of season 2 to start up Flashpoint for season 3. So that makes a lot of sense.
Right. Yeah, and that's why I was just like, yeah, you kind of asking for a lot. Mm-hmm. And even another concern was the fact that rumor had it that Ben Affleck was not coming back to be Batman.
Yeah.
The rumor had it he was done after Justice League. But, which would have been tragic, but they were able to get him onto the project. And they pushed back Justice League 2 to make room for the Batman, which I'm kind of interested in seeing how they're going with the Batman, considering they're doing a complete rewrite of the script.
Okay.
So, it's going to be interesting, but only time will tell. All I know is the intro for all of the DC movies is probably by far the most epic thing I've ever seen. It's way better than Marvel's intro for their movies. Because basically that they acknowledging who all the characters they're using, and you see so many characters, so many good characters in there. Everybody from Atrocitus to Mogo, the Living Planet, that's also a Green Lantern, all the way to freaking Constantine. So, I think DC really pulled out the big guns, and they really showing that they're trying to make their universe something to behold. Because they potentially have the best. They have all their characters, so they pretty much can do whatever they want to do.
Absolutely. And it's like they're setting themselves up just to make sure that they can do everything they want to do, but at the same time, they have a reset button. Which, honestly, when you think about the characters that they have, that's a good idea, because they can do it, and it will make sense. They just have to make sure, like you said before, they don't screw up Flashpoint. Because if they screw up Flashpoint, everything is going down the drain.
The whole shit, big fella.
The whole shit.
But this is a perfect segue to potential screw ups, because we also have the new footage for Avengers Infinity War.
Oh yeah, we do.
So, Crash, give me your thoughts about Infinity War and what you. I'm gonna ask you 2 questions, but I want you to answer the first question. What are your thoughts on the footage for Infinity War?
Well, the first thing I noticed, of course, because this is the way the Avengers and Marvel they always do, is they're trying to throw a lot of characters at you from the start, which, overall is good since they're about to go through with the whole Thanos thing. But I don't know why, but I kind of feel like they're about to do too much out of the gate with the movie, and it may... And forgive me for saying this way, it may turn out into one of those Batman v Superman moments where they dump so much and have to cut a lot, so when the movie comes out, it seems a little bit lackluster. But that's just how I was looking at it based off of some of the other trailers that they showed. But of course, it always looks good. They do really well with showing off their actual movies.
Now, do you think that... So, with you, because you saw the footage, what were some of your thoughts on how the characters look, like Thanos, for instance? Because you got to see Thanos actually in action.
Okay, well, let me be clear. I watched the trailer. However, the trailer that I watched wasn't really a really good one. So he looked okay, but once again, if I would have saw it in a better high def version, I'd probably have a different opinion, because he just kind of looked like a little bit of a bald man. But once again,
A bald Josh Brolin.
Yeah, so it's like, I'm assuming they're gonna put more work into making him look closer to how he's supposed to look. But just to give you a funny example of this, especially since we were talking about DC a minute ago, have you ever watched any of the DC animated movies where they have Darkseid running around, and sometimes he just kind of look like a bald man out there beating people up?
Yes,
that's kind of how they made Thanos look, and I was kind of like, huh. I mean, and it's making me worried, because it's giving me visions of when they did what is it? Apocalypse in the X-Men.
Oh yeah, that trash where this dude Apocalypse was over here looking like somebody's lost child.
So yeah, I'm a little, but I'm like, I feel like they'll fix it. But I'm not so sure.
Here's the thing, like, so Scarlett Johansson talked about the movie, and she said there's one scene in the movie where there's 60 plus people fighting each other on screen. That right there had me concerned.
Yeah, because it's like, okay, they're gonna do 60 plus people fighting. How many people from the other series are they gonna pull into the movie first? Second, is it even going to be important, or are they pulling these people in for like a 2-minute fight scene? Because think about it. A lot of people were hyped up for the fight scene in Civil War. And it wasn't that it was a bad fight scene, but they hyped it up better than what it was.
Yeah, I'll agree. Because it took place in an area that was totally abandoned. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't like they were in a populated city.
No, they were like in a airplane hangar.
Right. And that was kind of the most disappointing part to me about Civil War, was the fact that Civil War, on the scale that Civil War was done in the comic book, New York City was devastated by the final fight. Mm-hmm. Completely devastated. And it's just like, you just go like, oh, y'all had a pouty little fight. Y'all children had a pouty little fight in a abandoned airport.
Y'all was messed up a small airplane field.
Tony Stark himself can afford to fix all that.
Right.
He could buy the airport.
To make this even funnier, right? Like, you know what? Since we're going to talk about it later, I'm going to segue to it, but come back, because we'll talk about it later. I wonder if they would talk about that in the Defenders, or is the Defenders coming out before...
So the Defenders come out actually in 2 weeks?
Yeah, but I'm saying, when the Defenders start, this is after Civil War or before it?
After Civil War.
Okay, so I wonder if they're going to do like they did the thing in, like if you ever watched Jessica Jones, at the beginning they referenced to the first Avenger movie. And I'm like, I wonder will they reference to Civil War in this one, because if that's the case, they did this whole thing acting like people were, freaking out about superheroes, which they didn't call them heroes, or I forgot what they called them in Jessica Jones, but I wonder if they're gonna reference it in Defenders.
Enhanced,
or whatever they call them, enhanced humans or something.
Yeah, like that's, but not to segue, not to diverge too much off the topic of Infinity War. My biggest problem with Marvel is the fact that they have all these properties out here that just, they say, oh, it's connected, and then they do a really lazy way of connecting it by just mentioning something in a sentence.
Right, and I agree with that.
And it is very lazy. It's just like, if you knew these things weren't going to connect in the first place, just say they don't connect. I would be perfectly fine with my Defenders being separate from Avengers and knowing they don't connect. I would be okay. But don't sit there and say to me that it connects and it's just, oh yeah, there's some guy running around with a shield, or there's some dudes running around slinging webs in Manhattan. What? Right. Like that was my biggest problem. But going back to Avengers Infinity War, I agree with you 100% that Infinity War, I mean, it's a really big gamble because I saw the footage too. And first off, I didn't see Spider-Man, and so I was a little spoiled by the new suit that I saw. Oh. Which, I mean,
you still haven't seen Spider-Man?
No, I haven't.
Man, you gotta go see that.
But I mean, it's cool. It was cool, I guess, because I was like, I really wasn't too interested in seeing Spider-Man Homecoming, but the suit looks amazing, though. That suit, I was like, man, if that's the Iron Spider, and it's being promoted as sort of like the Iron Spider suit because Tony Stark made it. So I'm just like, if that's the Iron Spider suit, I am sold. With the black, gold, and red, yes, sign me up, give me more. But they're also really hyping up that after this movie, the roster is going to change dramatically, and people gonna die. I just want my curiosity is just how far is Marvel really willing to go? Because Disney owned them and everything, even though they have their own studio.
Right.
It's like, how far are you really willing to go to kill off your characters? Are you willing to go to Game of Thrones route and actually kill off a main character that people actually love?
And see, that's the thing. I don't see them pulling that off. Because think about it. They didn't even really kill off War Machine.
Nope. Thought that man was dead. All he got was he crippled.
Right. So it's like they didn't kill him off. They just wrote him off.
Yeah, I mean, he in the comic books, he did. There was some instances where he did injure himself severely, where he couldn't walk. But it's just like, yeah, that was kind of, like I said, I think that they're really finding really cheap ways to cheat death, essentially. Not to pull a Final Destination pun, but they really are cheating death with a lot of their characters.
Right.
So this kind of leads into my second question. How do you, because also Captain Marvel will be coming out after. No, Captain Marvel was coming out before Infinity War, but if I'm not mistaken, she's not showing up in Infinity War. Infinity War Part 1 or Infinity War takes place before the Captain Marvel movie comes out, because the Captain Marvel movie comes out and it's going to take place in the 90s.
Okay.
And they are in that movie they're introducing the Skrulls.
So they're pulling out the Skrulls.
Yes. So when was asked about that during the Infinity War conference, Kevin Feige explained that while Marvel can't do the specific Skrulls like the Super Skrull,
okay,
they can do the Skrulls in general, including the Skrull Queen.
And why can't they do Super Skrull?
Because that's a specific character with Fantastic Four.
Oh.
But they're going to find a way around that by giving a Skrull multiple powers.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I can see that.
So, my next question to you is, how do you think because the last movie in Phase 3 will be Avengers 4. So, how do you think, what do you think Phase 4 is going to look like? Or starting from Avengers 4 on to Phase 4, what do you think Avengers Infinity 4 looks like and Phase 4?
I'm sorry, say that again?
What do you think from Avengers 4 onward through Phase 4? What do you think that looks like?
I have no idea.
because the first movie in Phase 4 is the second Spider-Man movie. And I asked you this because you did see Spider-Man. So what are
I'm sorry, say that one more time.
Since you saw Spider-Man,
yeah,
what do you think? Since Spider-Man is going to be the starting movie of Phase 4, what do you think are going to be some of the? What do you think that Spider-Man movie is going to look like
for Phase 4?
Yes.
Well, okay, so I don't want to spoil it too much, but what they did with Spider-Man originally in this movie was kind of like just slowly put this thing where they wanted to establish him as a hero. If Infinity War is the next thing for him if Infinity War is next before he gets his second movie.
Well, Infinity War is before, but right before his movie comes out, Avengers Part 4 comes out.
So you're saying that they're going to have Infinity War and they're going to have another Avenger movie before he gets his second one?
Yes.
Oh.
That's why I asked you, what do you think that looks like? Because I kind of have a theory. But before I share my theory, I wanted to know from you. What do you think?
And I was right originally because I thought you mixed that up. No, I have no idea what that's going to look like at that point.
So, have you ever heard of the story Secret Invasion?
No.
Okay. I need you. So, I want to kind of explain like a brief synopsis of it. But I highly recommend you and all of our listeners to go check out in Secret Invasion.
Okay.
It's the story of Secret Invasion is so groundbreaking that I was at the end of that story was like, wow. It wasn't better than Civil War, but it was like the next best thing. So Secret Invasion, what happens in Secret Invasion basically is that the Avengers go off into space a long time ago, and they basically tell the Skrulls, look, don't come back on Earth again. Which, as a side note for a second, is interesting because since we're getting the Inhumans movie and television show, it kind of goes in perfectly with it. But I personally don't think the Inhumans movie and TV show is going to be that good. But I digress. Because the Inhumans have a sort of a role in this movie. In this comic book. So basically what happens is the Avengers go off in space, tell the Skrulls, hey, don't come back on Earth again or we going to have problems. So some years later, back in present day, the Secret Avengers are fighting the Hand. One of the Secret Avengers kill Elektra, stabs her with her own weapon, and kind of find out it's not exactly Elektra, it's a Skrull. So Nick Fury obviously is like, okay, this is a problem because how long has she been a Skrull and why have we not known? And the Skrulls, of course, they have the ability to mimic other creatures, look like them, so much so that they even have their own power set. They have the person they're copying power set. Well, that's when all hell breaks loose, essentially. Because you kind of find out that all these different superheroes are actually Skrulls. And it becomes a whole thing. And it becomes a whole situation like, okay, well, who is a Skrull? Well, while you're talking to your fellow teammate about some really important stuff that's going on, that could actually be a Skrull you're talking to. There was even one point where one of the superheroes was married and his wife was a Skrull. Didn't even know it. Had a baby and everything.
That's crazy.
Then, yes, it gets crazy.
So, okay, here's a better question. Was his wife a Skrull the whole time? Or
yeah.
So he met and then married a Skrull, not like, okay, he met his wife and his wife was replaced with a Skrull.
Nope, his wife the entire time was a Skrull.
Oh, okay.
That's why the beginning part of that story was important because it basically said the Skrulls have been on the Skrull even during the Civil War. They were Skrull. And they just thought they were fighting their team, like a fellow hero. No, they were fighting a Skrull the entire time.
Oh.
Some of the heroes were replaced, some of them weren't. And it leads off into this big battle, and it ends with a bunch of superpowered Skrulls. I will never forget. They had one page where there was a Skrull that had a mixture of Cyclops, Wolverine, and Venom's powers.
Wow.
That's
OP.
Broken as heck. That is broken as heck. The story ends. I'm not going to spoil how the story ends, but the story ends with a game changer, a total game changer. And that's why I kind of bring it up, because with the Kree and Skrulls actually being seen in the Captain Marvel movie before the fourth Avengers movie, I could really see them doing Secret Invasion.
Okay. That makes sense then.
My synopsis of the story did not even come close to how crazy that story was, because none of the superheroes or the villains trusted each other. People you've been fighting next to for years have been a Skrull. They even had the crazy thing is they even had a Phoenix empowered Skrull.
Wow. So they literally went the whole 9 yards.
Insane. But yeah, I don't know. Like, I really hope that they go that route, because that would be a really good 3-phase story arc.
Yeah, for sure.
And it would even if they wanted to tie it into the Defenders and all that, it will work.
Mm-hmm.
But we shall see.
Yeah. I feel like it would be a good idea if they did go that route, but at the same time, if they go that route, they literally turn every movie that they've made upside down, because it causes way too many questions. Especially, let's say you had a movie, right, where let me think of a good hero or something. Well, just in general, let's say you had a whole movie about a superhero and everything that they're about. Then you get to the invasion and that person was replaced, and you find out, no, they weren't just replaced. They were a Skrull the whole time. So you technically watched a Skrull movie the first time, which confuses you even more, because it's like, well, are the Skrulls basically aligned with themselves, or they're now really trying to protect people, or were they just playing their role way too well?
Well, that's because, like, in the comic book, like, the Skrulls, they explain the fact that the Skrulls, even when they copy you, they copy your memories and everything.
Yeah.
But that would also, here's the thing. Let me throw this curveball at you. Wouldn't that explain why the Civil War events took place? Why Tony Stark was acting like a jerk so much so, and why Captain America was so gung-ho and breaking the law?
It would. But see, here's my thing with that. Like, while that would make sense, if that makes sense in that degree, wouldn't it make sense for them to do it anyway if the Skrulls practically carbon copy them?
I mean, well, I see where you're going.
So it's like, even though the Skrull aspect does create that major question, it kind of kills the major question too, because it's like, well, this still could have happened with the way that character was in the first place. So,
well, not necessarily, because like okay. There was a point where the real heroes came back, and they explained the fact that they were on the Skrull homeworld the entire time in stasis.
Oh, okay.
So some of them had no clue what was going on. That's all. Just like, well, maybe that could work. but you know, we shall. It'll be interesting. It'll be interesting where it goes, but you know, we shall see.
Yeah, for sure. We'll see
So
how if they decide to go that route, of course.
right. But so we go. You know, we've been talking about some movie aspects and stuff. We gonna kind of shift gears a little bit. We're gonna talk about some games.
All right.
You know, just to give them a break. So, what are your? I already said personally, I'm not playing Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. I cannot.
You're gonna play it. You probably won't buy it, but I feel like you're gonna play it anyway.
See, here's my problem with that game. It literally feels like, besides some of the mechanics changing, it seems like a lot of things are copy and paste. Like, I didn't want to see Nemesis back in this game. Why do I have Nemesis again?
Okay. Let's roll it back, because this kind of comes into that idea of video games in general. A lot of games are copy and paste as far as fighting game goes. They literally pull the character from the last game and then they put them in a new one. So if you think about it like that, it makes sense that they added a lot of these characters. However, I will agree, some of the characters added is like a why? They weren't that great a choice the first time. Why would you put them back in this one? And I will say, yeah, Nemesis is one of them. Nemesis didn't cause like a game changer in Ultimate Marvel at all. Like, I can't see anybody saying, oh yeah, Nemesis was like my favorite character. Or even looking at competitive scene, Nemesis didn't really come out as a really strong character at all. So it's like, for them to add him in this one, it does seem like they're just trying to fill spot, which sucks, because it's like, it's a lot of characters that aren't in the game that they could have put back in there that would have been a better pick. Or even if not a better pick, they just flow better with the actual gameplay. Nemesis was okay, but he could have been in or not, and I don't think anybody would have been any more happy or sad. But I mean, once again, that kind of comes into the idea, how are they really going to make him different? But of course, I doubt they're going to make him different. Even looking at some of the gameplay that they had for some characters, yeah, they're not too much different. Of course, the button combinations and commands are different, because they've turned the game from a well, I mean, it's always been a 4-button fighter, but they've turned it from like a light, medium, heavy fighter to like two light, like a light punch, a light kick, and then a heavy punch and a heavy kick, just like the original Marvel vs. Capcom 2. So it's gonna feel different. Like, even me playing the Infinite story demo, it feels different, but it doesn't, or at least that didn't. The demo didn't. It doesn't feel good. But I'm assuming they're gonna make a lot of fixes before then. And like I said, I'm not gonna buy it, but I'm definitely gonna play somebody else's copy for a while, because I know somebody I know is gonna get it, and it's gonna determine whether I even decide to touch the game in the beginning. So it's like, I kind of want to see how the end result is, because none of the characters in the game make me really want to pick it up. And then the other thing that makes me mad about like the characters that they're showing, right? So they have Nemesis, Spider-Man, which made sense. They also introduced Frank West, which I'm like, why? Like, I understand he's a Capcom character and he's mildly iconic, I guess. I'm sorry, Frank West is a shit character, and he had shit powers in the last game, and he has shit powers now. Like, his whole point was just to be a joke character. But at least in Ultimate, I don't know how they're going to do him in this one. In Ultimate, they literally made him oh yeah, you have this character, aka, let's say, Dante, that does all these wild and crazy moves. And you can just tag this one character in off of one touch combo, and he's instantly at like level 4, which is like damn near what's her name, Phoenix level. So it's like you jump in and he's keeping you locked down with normals that do major amounts of chip damage to you. And now you have to deal with this threat. Now, of course, they have other characters that can deal with him a little bit better or not, but it's like they turned the joke character into like a really, really powerful character, and not the way they do it like with Phoenix Wright. Phoenix Wright makes sense because it's like, oh yeah, he's weak and you can basically rush him down and win. Frank West, you can't really do that. Like, his normals are okay enough to keep you away from him, and he can easily get to level 3 on his own. But all you have to do is
not
make
even
him
in
like
his
a
game,
secondary.
though.
Huh?
Phoenix Wright not even in this game, though.
No, I'm saying in general, like, with the joke.
Oh, right. From the last one.
Yeah. So it's like, for them to add Frank West back, I don't like that at all. Like, I'm not even gonna lie, because he was such a bleh character before, it makes me less wanting to actually touch the game. Like, seriously, it makes me less likely to touch it.
So here's the thing. They have I'm gonna say my piece, and then I'm gonna read the character list off what we got so far.
Oh, wait. Before you do that, I also want to point out that they added these characters, right? And yet, other characters that you would assume should be in the game automatically if they're in the game, they're marketing them off already as DLC in classic Capcom fashion.
We about to get to that.
Okay.
We about to get to that, man, because it blew my mind. Yeah. So first off, they did add a new finisher to Spider-Man, which I was impressed with. Yeah. His third finisher is basically the scene from the original Sam Raimi Spider-Man movie. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, wow, a nice little nod to that movie. But everything else is like carbon copy. So, when I saw Frank West, Nemesis, and Spider-Man added, I was like, okay, Spider-Man, of course, because Spider-Man Homecoming. And Spider-Man, when you say Marvel, you think of 4 characters. Spider-Man, the Fantastic Four, Captain America, and Hulk. And Hulk, basically. Mm-hmm. So I'm not surprised. So here I am surprised, however, about this character list. So we're gonna start with the Marvel characters first, and I'm gonna break down. And when I name off the Marvel characters, you give me your thoughts. Okay. Here go this crap right here. Already DLC, Black Panther.
Don't make
Captain America
sense.
Captain America.
Wait. Time out. Back up. I didn't know that. Captain America is DLC?
No, Captain America is not DLC.
Oh.
I'm just naming you the list off. The list has asterisks where they're DLC.
Okay.
Black Panther is DLC.
Yeah.
Captain America's in the game. Captain Marvel, Doctor Strange, Gamora, Hawkeye, Hawk, Iron Man, Nova, which is the Richard Rider Nova, not the Sam Nova, which is the actually current Nova, but whatever. Rocket Raccoon and Groot, Spider-Man, Thanos, Thor, and Ultron. Mm-hmm. So, I'm going to tell you what I think, but I want to hear from you first. So far, of that Marvel lineup, what are your thoughts?
Well, the one major thing that I think I realized the most out of that whole list, right? Which is weird. Uh-huh. Why is it that they only have 2 female characters for the Marvel side, period?
Thank you.
Like, all we have is Captain Marvel and Gamora, and that's it.
I was so distraught when I saw that. I was like, wow. So you're telling me of your whole roster, you're only going to put... And in the Capcom side, ain't no better. No, but we're going to get to that in a second. But I was like, 2 female characters, though? Really? Like, you have such a rich character list, and it's not like they're limited by the movies and because of rights and all that. they're free to use any characters except the characters that Fox owns. Which I don't think that's even true. I think they can use some of the characters that Fox owns.
Yeah.
But it's like, wow, like really though. And then the fact that you about to make Black Panther DLC, even though he has his own movie coming out.
Yep.
I was like, man, that's y'all a piece of work. How you gonna announce DLC characters and the game ain't even out yet?
You start announcing DLC character before you even announce who was in the full roster. That's what fucked me up. It's like, so we're okay with just dropping DLC characters, but we still don't know who else is in the normal game. Like, how do you... And the sad part about it is, they even showed the character model and everything. So it's
yes.
like,
and
this is where we are? This is where we are. And I know why they did it. They did it because they wanted to actually, quote unquote, create hype for the game. But at the same time, that makes no sense. That actually makes it worse, because it goes down the same problem that Capcom has had for years. They come up with stuff, they make you pay for it, but they put it behind something so that when you pay for it, you think you're paying for something that they didn't already have. When they've had it from the start, but they knew they could get you to pay an extra $5, $10 on the game, just because they know that character will be popular. And let's be really, really serious about this. They know Black Panther is going to be extremely popular because, in my opinion, honestly, not even in my opinion, you could just look at statistics. The Marvel community in general consists of a lot of people of color. And I know a lot of people of color will want to play with Black Panther. And they know this too, because I'm sorry, the Marvel games have been built off the backs of those players. So it's like, if you have those players and you know that player base is going to come back to your game, how about you make a little bit more money off of them by making a character you know a lot of them are going to want to play behind some DLC? That's real shifty. I mean, yeah, from a marketing standpoint, it makes somewhat sense, but it's like, how do you middle finger the people who have been buying your games from the start?
But that's not the only thing. You also have, and they've had this issue for a long time with the fact of, and not just the Marvel games, but the Marvel Cinematic Universe. There is no female leads at all, and you have. It took you 22 movies in just for you to have a female-led movie. 22 movies.
Yep.
And it's just like that in the times we live in, that is unacceptable.
It is. It's pretty unacceptable, but that's how they're running this if you look at it that way.
Oh wait, but here's the thing though. The game, guess when the game comes out in about 2 months.
2 months? I thought.
Well, actually a month and some days.
Or is it September?
No, it comes out September 19th.
Okay, so 2 months.
Right. Oh, and here's the pre-order bonuses: Evil Ryu, Warrior Thor, and Planet Hawk.
So just skins. DC?
And it grants access to the 6 DLC characters.
I'm sorry. We had some technical difficulties right there. You went out for about a cool 7 seconds. So repeat that.
Oh, I was just saying that those skins come out right along with the 6 DLC characters.
Yep, makes sense to me. Sounds very Capcom.
So it's just like, wow, really?
I mean, okay, let's go over the Capcom side of the list, which, even though the Marvel side, well, you know what? Just go over the Capcom list, and I'll say what I was going to say.
Okay. Capcom. We have Arthur, Redfield,
I'm sorry,
Chung Li,
you're rolling out a little bit.
Dante.
Say that again.
You have Arthur, Chris Redfield, Chung Li, Dante, Frank West, Jetta Doma, Mega Man X, Mike Hagar, Nemesis, Spencer, Ryu, Sigma, Strider, Hyrule, and Zero. And that's who we got so far.
So we're having a couple technical difficulties on your end. So some of those names didn't actually come out, but at least based off of what we heard, yeah. Who is Jetta?
So Jetta is the dude he's from the Darkstalker games, apparently.
Oh yeah, that guy. Okay, I'm like, where is this character? I didn't recognize the name. And
I was kind of leaning on you for that information because I've never heard of him at all.
I didn't hear the whole name. Like I heard like Jetta, and then your mic start cutting a little. But
are you familiar with that character?
I know what the character looks like. I have no idea about the character's lore. But I know what character you're talking about, which is interesting because just looking at that list, I think there's only 2 female characters on the Capcom side too, which is Chun-Li and Morrigan, right?
Yes, sir.
So we got 4 female characters in the game so far. We got characters locked outside of DLC that shouldn't be locked out at that point. And yeah, that the Capcom side of the list doesn't sound too great to me. Like, out of all the characters on the Capcom side that I'd actually want to play with, the only ones are Zero and Sigma. And that's probably just because I'm a Mega Man fan. Mega Man,
I will play with,
but not really. I played with Mega Man in the demo, and I didn't like the way they did it.
I would play with Jetta just because I'm not familiar with him, and I would like to see what's up with him. And I would play with Arthur, you know.
Yeah, I would play with Morrigan too, but only because I've played with Morrigan through a lot of other cross games, so that would be like just me coming back to the character that I played before. But yeah,
right. But as this game stands now, Crash, would you buy it?
No, absolutely not. I know a lot of people that will, but they have way too much loyalty to the brand, which is once again going back to what I was talking about before. It's way too many people, you know, stuck on that brand, and I mean that's fine, but as I mentioned before, Dragon Ball Z is basically gonna be my Marvel game when that drops.
So you're talking about Fighter Z, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that I might agree with you on that one because Fighter Z is probably gonna be my Marvel game too because that crap that they peddling right now, that unless they come out with the game with a character that I've always wanted to play with but never got a chance to, I'm not buying that game. There's no way I'm buying that game.
Yeah, I don't see me buying it either, buddy.
So,
all right. I'm sorry, what were you gonna say?
Oh no, go ahead.
I was gonna say, all right, we're just gonna go ahead shift gears away from Marvel Infinite because I'm sorry, it's just not hitting the mark right now, and it's already about to come out, and it doesn't seem like it should be. Like it seemed like that game needs to be in development longer, but I guess
I don't even think they're finished with it.
I mean, when was the last game Capcom finished when it came out?
That is very true.
So that's why I'm like, I'm not even worried about it. I mean, a lot of people were mad about Street Fighter V 2. And I don't see how they aren't mad about what's going on with Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. And at least with Street Fighter V being quote-unquote unfinished at that time, too, at least the game felt alright out of the gate. Like, there was nothing majorly bad about it. It was some balance problems, of course, but that's like every fighting game. But it's just like the only problem with that game is like the longer it went on, the more and more you realized how simplistic and non-creative the game is. And it's honestly why a lot of the community is kind of like, I'm good on it. Which is good, because Capcom has been king of fighter games for a while. And now people are actually branching off into other games. So now you see, like, the Tekken community is getting a lot better. And we're getting more eyes on Guilty Gear. And now with the way Marvel Infinite is going on, people are actually going to jump into Dragon Ball Z Fighters, which is good that they came out with a legit fighting game for Dragon Ball Z, because that's going to be like a hit turner. It's already a hit turner. So, in my opinion, Capcom screwing up as bad as they are is good for every other fighting game in the genre.